Now, this is a big week in TV with the launch of a very expensive show indeed. The executive producer of the Grand Tour, ex of Top Gear, is Andy Wilman, and he's here. Andy, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Just casting your mind back to the Top Gear days,
Yes,
and when it all started to go wrong, A.A. Gill said of his close friend Jeremy Clarkson that it got to the point where he felt as if he was working for the enemy. Is that really what it was like?
It got there was a perfect storm of pressure brewing. It was a pretty toxic environment towards the end. Really sad as well, because there was, if the BBC, if you make a show for the BBC, they're like your surrogate parents. Some of our surrogate parents were great, some weren't, and there was the ones that weren't so great were making life hell. I've gone on record as saying we weren't exactly the greatest children either at that time. We were kicking back as well, so the whole atmosphere was aggressive, it was toxic, and it wasn't a great place to make a show in.
How had it got like that over time? That's what I mean, because this is the goose that's laying the golden egg. It's a programme, and obviously Clarkson's right in the middle of it.
I know, it is a weird one, because the irony is we'd had so many years with no interference, and especially with the kind of show we made. If you look at the show we made, the complaints used to come in. We were always whatever controversy with a small c. We couldn't have made that show if the BBC had been on our necks on our backs every week, and they never were. But it became more of a personality clash, I think, in the end. That's where it started to go wrong.
With who?
Some of the management.
Danny Cohen?
Yeah, there was one.
He was the director of TV at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah. It became a clash in that manner. So those were the problems.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy himself talked recently about, in terms of the BBC, in fact, about how it was a very stressy time for him personally. So I think he'd got some issues in his home life where things were not going well. I think his mum may have passed away. I read somewhere that his dog had passed away as well, and also that the programme had gone from 8 episodes to 12 episodes, and the critical incident where it all finally blows up happens on programme 10. Do you think that the BBC could or should have handled him differently, or better, or more effectively?
Look, we were all under a hell of a lot of pressure making that show. You're absolutely right. Now, it's not so much the numbers of programmes, it's the fact that each programme becomes quite monstrous to make in ambition and so on and so on. The other thing is everybody's involved. It's not one where the talent turns up. All those 3 guys, they're either writing stuff or they're thinking of stuff. They're involved in the creation of things. So it's like a little cottage industry. It started like that, the show grew, but it stayed like that. That's the crucial thing.
And that, which of course is the source of its huge success.
Yeah, it was.
Do you think the BBC management understood that was the sort of show they had got?
No, I don't think they understood that it was well, no, I'm going to correct myself there. They understood to a degree that it was... Some people understood it was good to leave us alone. We were obviously doing something right, and no interference was needed. And it wasn't a show, because it grew from us, it wasn't a show that is like founded as a format and people can pass it on, Apprentice or Strictly or whatever. You can put a new team into that to take over, and another team can take it over, and the show will run successfully because the format is so strong. We were never that kind of show. It grew from us. So the BBC, did leave us alone to that level, but I think when any personality issues happened, that's the flip side of that coin. That we were not in a great position to be either for anyone to get involved with us or understand us.
Well, we'll get on to the new show in just one second. Just a couple of things, if I may. When the final altercation occurred, and I don't expect you to talk about the details of what happened.
No.
But was it your view that when that happened, it was kind of game over? Did the BBC have any choices at that stage? Because the way that they presented it in the end was, because, and again, I'm not trying to draw you into agreeing with this, because they said in the end Jeremy had thumped a producer and this simply can't be allowed to happen, and so on and so on and so on. It was presented as kind of, they really didn't, by that point, who knows what happened before, by that point he really had no options. Do you think that was right?
No, I don't think it was right. There were options. There has to be a way. Jeremy knew he'd done wrong. There has to be a way of handing out some kind of punishment without killing the show. There had to be. That's the job of management.
And they just didn't find it. Or did you think they wanted to find it?
I'll never know that. I'd be speculating. The fact is it wasn't found. And I'm saying that is the job of management at that certain point.
Now, you were the executive producer of the show. Last question on this, I promise.
Yeah.
Do you think?
You say.
Do you feel any responsibility for having not handled Clarkson? I mean, for example, when the proposal came along to expand the series from 8 to 12, given, as you've said, it's a hugely stressful show, becoming more so. Wasn't there a bit of you as an executive producer, if you like, caretaker? I don't mean caretaker. I don't mean looking after it for no obvious purpose, but you're heavily involved in this. You know all the characters. You're the guy who holds it all together on the ground.
Completely.
Did you at any point think?
Yeah, I did.
I'm not sure this is the right thing to do.
No. I as the dust settled, I did take some blame on myself because I'm going back to that same point. We started with a small thing in 2002. It grew. Everything grew. That doesn't mean you become a great exec producer along the way. It doesn't mean that you find all the personnel skills and all the skills to delegate that some kind of slick operator has automatically. I was still, I'm in the edit a lot, which is like quite a stupid place for an exec producer to be. And the presenters, like I say, they set off on their films with some bullet points and a few thoughts. So all that kind of cottage industry behaviour, put it into a big show, inevitably I'll not be great at the end if I don't change and become a sort of super exec of a supersized show. And I didn't become that. You're absolutely right. We were all crushed under the pressure of doing it. We're all quite, I was a bit siege mentality. We're all quite fighty.
When it came to the end, everyone was on all sides taking entrenched position.
I could have done better. Yeah.
Okay.
Got question?
Right.
No question. I could have done better.